What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more Smashing Pumpkins, and we're returning to Adore once again. A massive thank you to Sofia for providing this album, and a thank you to those who've been following the deep dive since I went through Siamese Dream, and then the incredible double album, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. In any case, the next tune is Pug, which makes me think most immediately of the breed of dog known as a pug dog. But I think it's actually also a term used in relation to a number of animals, and in that regard, I think some of these usages are antiquated or no longer common, but as an extension of those meanings or of those animal designations, which again I think it's as widespread as relating to foxes and ferrets and those types of smaller, let's say, furry animals, but also I think there's like a pug moth. But I think it is often used as a descriptor or modifier meaning small or squat. So, of course, those could have no bearing on the meaning here if there is a direct, clear articulation of the title and its context in the song. But yes, my first thought is that this could relate to something which is minute in some way, but perhaps has an outsized impact. Once again, it could have nothing to do with any of these ideas. Let's give it a listen. This is Smashing Pumpkins. The tune is Pug, and it's from the 1998 album Adore.
Come and try.
So, in the end, right here, I think there's a microcosm of what the tune does sonically overall. Meaning, in the end, as it's fading out there's this smooth quality, but also that intense, laserish sort of sound. And the track overall seemed to have two different intensities, two different characters to it. Meaning, there's that constant, pulsing, somewhat intense sonic configuration, and then those sections where it really seems to shift and gets a bit more floaty and light. And so, in the end, there was a balance in the tune simultaneously that I think if you zoom out, the tune overall seems to have in its different sections. So yeah, the more intense segments of the song had this syncopated, not industrial, but a bit electromechanical feel to it, in part with that. It was like there were multiple sounds which had this hit, rest, not like marching, but again, pulsing, or this constancy. And so there was a bit of an intensity to that. And then, as I said, it would switch into that smoother contours, lusher type of feel. So sonically, again, it had balance on multiple scales. Lyrically, I don't really know what's happening. I mean, he's talking about like kissing, and then he seems to be saying, like, there's what was it? Again, this happens to me sometimes. There was like a particular lyrical element that I was catching. Poof, I'm back. I couldn't let it stand. I had to go back and check. So it was the dichotomy between inside and outside. It was like inside, what is it? Like, I'm ensconced with you, or I'm like within you, something like that. It felt like there was a surrounding, a encompassing feeling that he was having with this person that he's talking to, which again, it could be himself, it could be more conceptual, but in the moment I thought he was talking to another person specifically. And then it was like he was saying outside he feels like he's torn in two, something like that. So there was a real distinction and dichotomy between the feeling and the situation inside versus that outside. So inside it's warm and he's somehow enveloped in this other person, and then outside it's like he's torn in two, which again, maybe it's that latter aspect which made me think perhaps he's talking about himself or to himself. So I don't really know what to make of the title Pug. I don't really know the essence of even the tidbits I did here, but that's the main thing that I caught, that he's talking about a distinction between inside and outside, and seemingly there's kissing involved too. So yeah, let me know what you think, or if you have any insights in that regard, and I will see you for the next one. Peace.